welcome to episode number 139 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM in Philadelphia, and iHeartRadio and other streaming platforms. Wherever you get your podcasts is where you can listen to this show. My name is Jason Finelli. I'm the video game and esports guy at Fox PHL The Gambler. And today we have a very, very good show for you with three very different facets of the video game world. Unfortunately, none of them competitive gaming because it's really on the downturn, and I need stuff to talk about, so can't talk about competitive gaming. Hopefully it'll come back soon. Call of Duty League announced their schedule for 2024. Overwatch League might be hanging around. Not sure about that. And the fighting game community is always a beacon of hope for competitive games, as I have said numerous times. But we're not going to focus on that. Today we have an excellent interview with the director of Extra Life for Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, Jeff Montegut. Extra Life's game day is tomorrow, November the 4th, the big marathon day where people play games for 24 hours, sometimes 25 hours, in order to raise money for Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. I am not doing it this year. Didn't sign up in time, or at least I'm not doing it for game day. There's a chance I might hang out with some friends and do some things in December, but we'll talk about that later on if it happens. And then we're going to move into a sort of small gift guide coming into the holiday season. There's a couple of things that may not be on your radar that I think you should consider. I'm not going to get into like the obvious things like games you should buy and consoles and stuff like that. This is more off the beaten path, and I think it's stuff that you might want to hear about that I am using myself for the most part. And then finally, we're going to get into the debate of whether or not 2023 is the best year for video games as a whole. We've got a bunch of different ways to look at this problem, and I plan on doing that, or not problem, this discussion, and I plan on doing that in the last segment of our show. All right, our first segment here on the show today, I want to highlight a very worthy cause that I have participated in the past, haven't been able to in the last couple of years, might get back into it this year, and that is Extra Life. I know I've talked about this on the show before in recent years. This is the 24-hour video game marathon specifically designed to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. I personally have done it for Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, being from Philadelphia, but there's a whole network of hospitals that benefit from this. And right now, we are speaking to the director of Extra Life for Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, CMNH, who has graciously agreed to join me here on the show to talk about what's going on with this year's event. His name is Jeff Montegut. Jeff, how are we today?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting us talk about Extra Life on your show.
Absolutely. It is a very worthy cause. Happy to do so. Have raised a decent amount of money in the past for CHOP. Want to get back into it, but like I said before the show, it's kind of hard to do that when you have your own kids, as strange as that is.
You're right. You're fundraising for other kids, right? Or
but your own kids get in the way. Just a weird little
right
dichotomy. So let's talk
I did look real quick, by the way. You are only about $3,000 away lifetime from unlocking our commemorative $10,000 lifetime coin. And it's a big coin that you get. It's a metal coin. It's got the Extra Life logo on one side, the Children's Miracle Network on the other side. Yeah, and we ship that to you once you hit $10,000 lifetime. So anytime you pick it back up, you're pretty close.
I'll have to get that exact number. Maybe we fire up the old donation bin between now and the end of the year. That, friend, perfect way to get me to do something. Look at this shiny thing you almost have.
Literally shiny.
Yeah. So let's talk about this year's events. Big game day, the big 24-hour marathon is scheduled for for tomorrow. If you're listening to this when the podcast goes down, that is let me get my date right just to be the 4th of November. Normal hours, is there like a set time that you guys go? Is it like 8 to 8, 9 to 9? I know I used to do 9 to 9, but is there like a set designated, these are the 24-hour of game day that we were going with?
I think there used to be, before I started as the director, I think it usually was like 9 a.m. Mountain Time. So
so like 11
10 a.m.
Eastern.
10, 9, 10 or something like that. But
Sure.
right, because of time zones And we really kind of have started really referring to it as game day weekend because everybody activates at different times. Back in the day, it was a lot more hyper focus on the challenge of gaming and streaming or fundraising for 25 hours because of daylight savings time.
Yes.
So we get the 2 a.m. hour twice.
Yeah. Yes, we do. I've remembered that a couple of times in the past, just being like, hey, it's 2 a.m. Oh, it's 2 a.m. again. We're doing it though.
We take advantage of time travel.
Yes, right? Yes, as you should.
So yeah. So now though, we look at it more as you have the weekend to activate. And so whether you do a 4-hour stream or you do a 25-hour or you do 72 hours with a group of people and you kind of tag team it and things like that, we kind of leaned a little bit more into kind of healthy choices where as we get older, some of us can't stay up that late.
That is another challenge. Man, you're speaking my language. I've wanted to. There have been some marathons where I've just had to take like 1 or 2 hours and just, power nap or whatever you want to call it, because it's tough to do, especially by yourself. If you have a group where you can split it 4 hours at a time, or that would be the way I would do it. In the future. But so your mainstream this year, do you have a schedule of what you'll be doing, or are you just like highlighting other streamers? How's that working?
Right. So that's another thing. Back in the day, Extra Life started where the team of Extra Life staff would stream on the Extra Life Twitch channel, their own stream. And then as the community grew, a couple of years ago, we made the decision that it shouldn't be about our staff stream. It should be about everybody else who streams. So we scaled back on what we push live. Now, this year, we're not going to do any live on our channel. We're going to pre-record a few videos that we'll post on social and in the community when we do announcements, like every hour, this is how much we've raised type stuff. But our main, say, live experience part is going to be where we're scheduling our staff time to visit other team or streamers on their stream.
Ah, that's cool.
Kind of like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, we pop in. So we kind of pre-schedule that so they can arrange it and set up their scenes and all that. And then so we know like, at 10:30, we've got to be on so-and-so's, Mr. Taco's stream or something like that.
Okay.
And so because we all come together at the Salt Lake City office. And so we have our own staff. We're all together at headquarters. We set up that living room scene like we always used to do, kind of. Cool. And so we do play as well. It is our game day as much as anything else. But we do spend that 25 hours, we're visiting as many streams as possible, whether it's as, like a live on camera experience with them, or a lot of times we'll pop into chat. We can cover more ground where we pop into chat as Extra Life for Kids. And so we have staff across the country that are actually going to participate in that. And our goal, because there's 20,000 people that stream on game day weekend, whether on awesome. Twitch or YouTube.
That's
so great. We can't catch everybody, but we go nonstop. So,
that's a lot of people to try and catch them all. So the fact that you're just dropping into chats, or even like, will you raid? Is that how you do on your Twitch?
So you'll I think so. Didn't Twitch get rid of raiding? I think you can't raid anymore. But so we just
that's new.
Unless
it's been a while.
There's a way I think that we're exploring on how you can bring more traffic from one to the other. But as of right now, we search. So we look at on the extra-life.org website, we look to see who's live, because there's an indicator if you're live there and you've connected your Twitch or YouTube to that. And then once we catch all those, then we just go to browse live streams. Anybody who's tagged Extra Life,
you jump
on their stream title, we pop in and you're streaming, and all of a sudden you see Extra Life for Kids enters the chat. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
we just kind of hype it up.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you're doing Extra Life on Saturday, make sure you use that tag. It's how they know that you're participating, and they can jump in and maybe, amplify you a little bit, whether it's through chat activity or something like that. And I imagine you're not just limiting yourself to like the big time streams. You're looking for small streamers, mid streamers, everything in between.
We don't look at fundraising total when we decide who to visit.
Excellent.
We look at honestly, I literally, if I'm sitting at the computer, I'll go to Twitch, browse Extra Life, and I'll click the first one. And we track we have a shared spreadsheet, of course, how we if you want to get behind the scenes. And so I'll look first to see, has somebody on the team already visited that streamer? if they did, I'll move to somebody else.
To the next one. That's cool.
And that way we don't, and sometimes if we double, that's fine. Like you might be like, oh, so and so already popped in. I'm like, absolutely, they did, and I'm popping in again because we're also talking as we're doing it, so we're in the same room. So I remember a couple years ago we had one person. Her name was Divatopia. She was streaming, and
Great name.
Yes, right.
Great
and
name.
she had a beautiful set, right? Big makeup, and she had a puppet. She was a ventriloquist. She's singing a song.
Oh,
and
wow.
she was only about $200 from her goal. And in the middle, so one of us is on as Extra Life for Kids chatting to her. She's singing. We're all actually hovered around. We have it on the big screen in the office. And we're all actually, she was actually chatting to all of us, not realizing, because somebody's like, oh, say this, oh, say that. And so we're interacting with her. We didn't know our boss, our VP, he goes on the side and makes the $200 donation to her while we're chatting. We don't know it. She obviously says, so she's in the middle of singing, and then her little alert comes up that says, Mike just donated $200. You hit your goal. And she just stopped mid singing and was just like, oh my God.
That's so cool.
Started crying, and we were like, yeah, So it was
awesome.
a great moment. So anything we catch like that, we clip as well. And those are the things we use. And we want to put that back out on social and put them on like montage reels and things like that. So we're also scouring for good content.
That's amazing. So when someone's setting up a Extra Life stream, it doesn't exactly matter what they're doing, as long as they're doing some sort of streaming for the cause. Like you said, this was a ventriloquist singing a song with a puppet. Other people will do traditional gaming streams or even some tabletop stuff. It's up to the user's discretion, whatever they want to do to help the cause. You're okay with?
Yeah, we don't ask you to change who you are, because the idea is you've built your community.
Yep.
And so this is about you and your community supporting your local hospital or Children's Miracle Network hospitals in general, right? So we the main thing is kind of like, it's a fundraising thing, right? So it's whatever you can do to raise money, as long as it's legal.
Yep.
And and then also, I mean, we ask that it be kid friendly or family friendly, but we also know that some streamers, like if you're playing Call of Duty, then just understand that we can't necessarily clip that or use that.
Sure.
So you can still fundraise, but we can't obviously pick that up and
because
use it in marketing materials.
That would not jive.
Right.
as much as
fundraising for children, right?
As popular as those games are, that there is an ESRB to be wary of, and I do completely. That does make sense. So say someone can't make November 4th. They have something going on. They want to contribute in some sort of way. While they may not be able to take advantage of the streaming stuff or working alongside you guys during your official, the donation period is the entire year, correct?
Yep. So the year starts January 1st. So literally everybody's counting down 3, 2, 1, and partying as New Year starts. And I'm at my house or wherever. I actually now have to be at my house because it's Happy New Year. And then by 12:15 a.m. I run to my office and I hit publish on the new website.
There you go. Look at that.
So we are live, and we usually get about a couple hundred, if not 1,000 or 2,000 people sign up within the first hour of the year. And
That's
so
awesome.
The registration opens, and you do have to re-register every year, right? So once you register for that year, it only lasts until 12/31, Cool. And then so you can fundraise, because some streamers are like, I have plans every November, I can't do it. So you fundraise when it makes sense for you. Game day is just when the majority of our streamers activate, but there's also in-person events, tabletop events, gaming communities
that actually
Magic players come together.
Perfect segue to my next question. This is not the only event you do throughout the year. Some folks may think you have what I call the GDQ syndrome, where you have your big event, but then you also have other stuff that only the people who are really in the know are familiar with. So talk to me about Extra Life United and the tabletop event, the other things that you do throughout the year, and how people might be able to get involved in something like that.
Yeah, so our other big we call them tentpole moments, right? Because it's the big rally points throughout the year. So tabletop weekend, we call it, is pretty much, so if game day is predominantly live streamers and then the add-on of in-person events, tabletop weekend is our tabletop board game, card game, trivia night. I mean, you think about it as your bricks and mortar, your in-person type things, and like not necessarily video games.
Right.
Now, of course, you can play video games, especially if you're playing tabletop games on like boardgamesarena.com or something. But and then we do have people who stream that as well, but it is more of a in-person type experience. So that is going to be in 2024. That's going to be April the 19th, 20th, 21st weekend.
Okay.
Because that aligns with National Board Game Day. And then later in the year, the next big event is Extra Life United, which is going to be this in 2024. It's going to be in Kansas City. It's an in-person tournament type event where people come in, you register, you sign up, obviously. You travel to the event and you play. We usually would do about 5 video games and 3 tabletop games. Cool. And you're competing to win. And what we've done in the past doesn't always mean we're going to do it exactly the same way in the future, but the top 16 finishers in each of those game brackets are going to win money. That money goes to your fundraising page, which ultimately goes to your hospital. So you're playing for fundraising dollars to go to your hospital.
Oh, that's cool.
Kids. Right.
That's
so you don't take the money home, your hospital does.
That's it. Honestly, if I was playing in your tournament and I won some money, I would probably just put it on an activated Extra Life page anyway. So it's good that you kind of cut out the middleman and even the temptation and just donate it for me. I do appreciate that. Speaking of funds raised, my friend, we are 24 hours away when this episode goes up or whatever it is from 2023's game day. Where are we at so far? How are things going? What are we? Have we reached any certain particular plateaus before things even start?
So we're already probably past $4.5 million for the year. This goes back to you don't have to only fundraise on game day. You can. So this is all the people who have fundraised up until this point have already raised $4.5 million.
That's amazing.
We usually game day usually raises another $4 million. Anywhere between $3.5 to $4.5 million on game day weekend. So we should finish this year around $10 million raised by Extra Lifers, and that's anywhere between 20 and 30,000 people, around the world, really.
That's fantastic.
So we have a few game activations, like some game developers get involved and they do some in-game items that players can buy, and it's pretty cool.
I've already seen some advertising. I think PlayStation had some stuff. They're doing stuff all week. And then a couple of big outlets. I think Giant Bomb was doing something.
Right.
And a couple others. Very, very cool that people get involved. Like, Kind of Funny versus IGN. That was another one, too.
Yeah.
That's a huge one.
And we have another thing with Kind of Funny coming up in December with Wildcard Alliance. So that's the new game that's coming out. And so we're working on having them play Wildcard Alliance as part of a stream, as part of their launch plans,
to raise extra. Awesome. Synergy, baby. You got to love it.
Yeah.
So my last question to you then, Jeff, is there's someone who is brand new. They go to extra-life.org for the first time. They see what you're about. They see what you're doing. And they want to, what do you think is the best entry point for a brand new, whether they're streaming or tabletop or what it is, the best foot in the door for someone who wants to do this for the first time?
I think first and foremost, don't forget the dash. It's extra dash. Huge. So thank you for remembering that. The other one isn't us. So I would say if somebody's brand new, the first thing it's not about whether you're a streamer, whether you're a video gamer, whether you're a tabletop gamer, that everybody's welcome, right? The first thing is you're coming here because you want to support your local Children's Miracle Network hospital. It's mission first. So are you doing this because you want to help the kids? Because if you're doing it for any other reason, then it is going to be something that's easy to, I signed up, but then I don't come back and really do anything. So we want that kind of motivation. I tell our staff all the time, like, we're not trying to recruit every gamer. We're here to find the gamers who want to support children's health, like issues like children's health, and then offer them Extra Life as a way to do that. So I think that's first and foremost. And then, like I said, it's fundraise however you want. Like a lot of people, if you stream, you have access to a community. And so you can ask people to donate that way. If it's in person, you can plan events. We have resources to help people do that on extra-life.org as well. But then Facebook fundraisers. Yeah, Facebook still exists. And I look at it as like Facebook is where that's where my parents and my aunts and uncles, like the people with disposable income.
That's
so
correct.
I do a Facebook fundraiser. I actually get more donations that way than any other way. Because
the last time I did it was through, I used Facebook fundraiser. I want to say 2018, I think 2017, something like that. And I was amazed at how much that drove to my overall total. So yes, I 100% agree that Facebook fundraising is definitely a valuable option.
And that's a button in your dashboard. So when you sign up, you have a dashboard.
Yep.
And by now, everybody should understand peer-to-peer fundraising pages. Every organization has one. So you sign up, you have a page. That's where you collect your donations. In your dashboard, there's a button that says start a Facebook fundraiser. I think it's three. Like, do that. You're probably already logged, cashed in. So you just authorize and you're set up. And then you tag people. So I would start with that. I mean, do the simple stuff first. Just ask people to give money because you're doing it and because you're supporting that cause.
Cool.
And then if you have a personal story, if either you have a kid who's been treated at the hospital that you're supporting, or you yourself or somebody, a family member, always being able to connect that with, connect that story when you're asking for donations, so people understand, like, this isn't just, I'm not just doing this because I like games. I'm doing this because I have a personal reason.
Vested interest. Yeah. My story is my kids have both been treated for not. Luckily, fortunately for me, the reasons we have been there have not been for any long-term serious diseases. They've been for, clumsy falls or like really bad, like temporary sicknesses, stuff like that. But that doesn't mean I want to. But
it's still there. Yeah.
Right. It's still there. And they're now opening up urgent cares around me in the network, in the CHOP network, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and I want to keep supporting that if I can. So I'm right there with you. That makes perfect sense to me. Which hospital do you support specifically?
So I support, it's St. Francis Cabrini, because I live in central Louisiana. Okay. And we have a small community. It's not a big city like Philadelphia. So we have a few gamers, few of us that fundraise. Cool. That's my hospital. And similarly, my story is, so my kid was treated there. Actually, he went there. This is years and years ago when he was 4 years old, was choking on peanuts because I gave him trail mix and shouldn't have done that with a 4-year-old. So when we brought him in, they couldn't do a bronchoscopy on him because they only had adult sized bronchoscopes. So they had to helicopter him up to Shreveport, Louisiana, which is, and they had to do it. A week and a half after that event, the people from Cabrini contacted us and told us that because of this experience, we just got authorized to purchase 2 child-sized bronchoscopes so that we never have to airlift someone away again. And that's a kind of a situation. Extra Life money goes to
stuff like that,
things like that. Yeah. So, and that's like when you sign up and you select your own hospital that you want to support, everything you raise. That's I think the biggest thing that our Extra Lifers tell us that is the most important to them is that national doesn't take a cut, right? That we get our funding from corporate partnership, underwriting type things like that. All of the fundraising dollars that you raise goes to your hospital, and then we don't tell those hospitals how to spend it. So how CHOP is going to spend that fundraising money is maybe different than how Cabrini is. So Cabrini had a need for equipment, but then say next year we might have a need, or your hospital might have a need. You want to offset patient medical bills, or they're investing in game therapy, or a new, a whole new wing. Like the Seattle Children's builds giant wing. Rooster Teeth's money for Dell Children's has built healing gardens. I mean, so there's 170 hospitals in the network. So there's so many different ways that people are supporting, and it's the local impact. It's the kids in their community.
Cool. That's awesome. And that's why Extra Life is great. And if you're thinking about it, you should sign up. You still can sign up for this year, but you should definitely sign up on January 1st at 12:15 a.m. because that's when the website goes live. As we found out, you can sign up immediately, be one of that first rush, and raise all throughout the year, and then you'll be helping out your local children's hospitals at the same time. Jeff, thank you so much for your time here today. Looking forward to hearing the great plateaus that you hit this year, hit those milestones, and I look forward to talking to you again very, very soon about Extra Life in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up after the break, we will talk about 5 things that should be on your gift guide list for friends who may be into video games, tabletop, card games, or everything in between. We've got some pretty good stuff to talk about, and I'm excited to do that with you on the other side. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 139. My thanks once again to Jeff Montegut from Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, talking about Extra Life. Their big game day is tomorrow, November the 4th, and you can check out a whole bunch of different streams on their website. I've seen a couple of promotions that companies are doing around this. Butterfinger, it has partnered with Square Enix, of all people, to give away free item DLC for the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Very interesting collaboration there. So you can check that out over on the Butterfinger website. There's all kinds of places that are celebrating Extra Life. I am not, unfortunately, this year. I didn't get around to it in time, but I would like to, because Jeff had to dangle that that $10,000 coin in front of my face, and now we'll try and figure out how I can get that. But let's move on to our second segment of the show here. Let's talk about the holiday season, shall we? It is almost that time again, and you're probably looking for some gifts to give to your the gamer or the geek culture aficionado in your life. And I have a couple of ideas here that may be not your first thought or even your second thought, but things that you should probably focus on or think about when trying to decide the best gift for the geek culture enthusiast in your house or on your list this holiday season. The first one comes from the card game realm. As you know, as I've talked about many times on this show this year, tabletop has really, taken hold or taken my life by storm in the past year, particularly in the Magic the Gathering sector. And this year's, actually today, this episode goes out November the 3rd, today released the next installment of the Lord of the Rings collaboration. So back in June, they released a full tentpole set themed around the Lord of the Rings books specifically. So there was art and references to things that were in the books. It did not reference the movies. This really got into the deep lore of Tolkien's saga. And this holiday release is doing the same. So there are 4 different scenes that you can purchase. Each one has 6 mechanically unique cards that make up a single painting in a big scene. There's Gandalf at the Pelennor Fields. There's Aragorn at Helm's Deep. There's the Ride of the Witch King, I think it's called. And then the 4th one is Galadriel, but the actual name of it eludes me at the moment. And each of these 6 cards work in Commander or Legacy or Vintage if you play those formats. They also each come with 3 set booster packs, so you're getting cards that are legal for Modern as well. They're cool packages. I wrote a little thing for MMORPG.com about them with pictures that'll be going up later today. I really like the presentation, but there's a couple of things for the card, like buyer beware things I did want to mention. The easel in which you place the cards to make this display isn't the easiest one to work with. It's hard to get the separation open to put the cards in, and sometimes the easel folds up when you want it to. It is just made of cardboard. But luckily for us, the powers that be who were making this packaging made the wise decision to not only include the actual cards, but also full art versions where it's just the picture on the card and not like the frame and the wording and all that. So if you just want to use the art cards in your display and keep the actual mechanics cards like for your decks and stuff in your binder, you can do that. Which is pretty cool. I appreciate that they did that. It's probably what I'm going to do with the displays that I have. So those are really cool. I think they're retailing for $40 each. So if you have a big Lord of the Rings fan, that's a decent price to pay for one of those boxes, and especially if you're trying to go for all 4. But they are worth it for Lord of the Rings fans, Magic the Gathering fans, and especially for someone who is a fan of both. So I do recommend that. And also, too, they have released new Collector's Booster special editions. These are special packs with special treatments of cards. Like some cards get a scroll treatment, so they look like they're on old parchment. Some cards have this weird retro 60s rock poster design, which I don't quite understand how it fits with Lord of the Rings, but they look kind of cool. And then there are cards that feature the art of the Hildebrand brothers, who have been known to do Lord of the Rings art for many, many years. These are cool too, but these are more for the card players than the Lord of the Rings fans that aren't Magic the Gathering players, because they won't get as much out of it as someone who's actually going to use these cards in their decks. Particularly the Hildebrand cards, which are reprints of older Magic the Gathering cards from it's from its 30-year history. So the collector boosters are more for those who play the card game too. But the scene packages are good for both, just because they could sit and make a nice little piece on your Lord of the Rings display. So I do recommend you check those out for the Lord of the Rings fan, Magic fan, or someone who is a fan of both on your list. Second up, I have something. I was recently given a sample. I'm not sure where they are here. Here they are. From Gunner Optics. So if you're not familiar with Gunner Optics, they make glasses that protect your eyes from blue light, which is the harmful light from staring at screens all day, creates fatigue and messes with your eyes, things like that. They have prescription and non-prescription versions. So if you don't have a glasses prescription like myself, you can basically just wear them as sunglasses while you're working at your desk all day. That's how I use the ones that I was fortunate to receive here. But they've recently started dabbling in partnerships. So they have glasses that are themed on Marvel properties or things like that. And the pair that I was given here to wear are the Tony Stark Industry version. So they look like Tony Stark's sunglasses from the Iron Man and Avengers movies, but they, instead of having the sunglass frame, they have the blue light protector frame. And I do wear these often while I'm working now. I've started wearing them ever since they were sent to me a couple of weeks ago. And I have to say, I have noticed a bit of a difference in how fatigued I am at the end of the day. I used to get really tired around 4:30 or so. That has relented a bit. I'm not getting as many headaches as I used to after long writing sessions or long working sessions, which is also very, very cool. I am a believer. I've always wanted to try Gunnar Optics. Never had the chance until these recently came to my doorstep, and I am. It was worth the wait. It is doing what I hoped it would do for me. So I would recommend Gunnar Optics, whether it's the Marvel specific glasses or just a generic pair that they have. And like I said, if you have a prescription, they can work with you there to get that going. You just send them your prescription and they'll send it to you, and they'll send you the glasses. And yeah, I'm with them. I'm on it. I'm a fan. So if you want to check those out for yourself, that's Gunnar Optics. You can Google that. It's Gunnar, not ER. And you'll be able to find the glasses that are good for you. Like I said, they work for me. The blue light protection has been beneficial, and I would recommend a pair to anyone who might be experiencing headaches or fatigue while they're working. I'm not saying this is like a medical professional. I'm not sure what the medical community says about this, but for me personally, placebo effect perhaps, but I wouldn't say that. They are working, so I do like what they have done for me so far. Next up, we have a lineup. There's a controller maker that I want to highlight here. One that I have had the chance to try a lot of their stuff, is particularly with a fighting game section of their wares, and that's PDP. So PDP this year came out with a line of controllers called, I think, the Real M. Let's see, I have one right here. Is it Real? It's Real MZ, and they're wireless controllers for the Switch. They have a Sonic the Hedgehog line, where on one side it's pictures from like a Sonic the Hedgehog stage, and then inside the left grip is a little figurine of a Sonic character. So Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, I believe, are the ones that are featured right now. These are very comfortable in my hand. I opened up the Sonic one and was playing some Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Yeah, I know. With it, and it felt really good. Had the fact that it was wireless was very intriguing to me. I appreciated that I was able to take it wherever I wanted to. Ever since the Wavebird on the GameCube, I have been spoiled by wireless controllers. Going wired is very hard, even though I'm sitting at a desk where all of my consoles are right near me. So these being wireless was huge. And so those are for the Switch, and they also have a line of Xbox Afterglow controllers, I believe they're called. Haven't opened this one yet, but this one is wired, Afterglow Wave. Does come with a month of Game Pass Ultimate, so you can try that out for yourself as well. It is this one is actually for PC too, so if you do a lot of PC gaming and you're looking for a controller, that's one that will be able to help you out. We also have, this is the Rematch Glow. This one is a wired controller as well, also for PC. Glows in the dark, so if you're playing in the dark, you'll be able to add a little bit of extra ambiance to your gaming. This one is Jolt Green. My favorite color is green. Go Birds. So this one I did open up, and it's very, very comfortable in my hands. Again, the wire, I wish it was wireless, but for what I'm trying to do, and thankfully due to the proximity to my consoles, I am able to make the wired console work. And then finally, PDP, my favorite thing about them is that they also own and operate the Victrix brand of fight fighting controllers, specifically the Pro FS Fight Stick and the BFG Pro controller. I have held the BFG Pro. I don't own the BFG Pro. I have held it a few times, and my goodness, that thing is wonderful. And I'm not the only one that thinks this, because it was originally released for fighting games, but then this year they released a Call of Duty version for the Modern Warfare 3 players. So the other genres are beginning to pick up on fighting game controllers, and this one is a doozy. So if you play either of those games or both, I would recommend the BFG Pro. And if you're just a fighting game fan, the Victrix FS Pro Fight Stick, I reviewed it last year for GameSpot, still using it to this day. I am using the one with the joystick. There is the joystickless one where it's just the buttons, the lunchbox version. Have not had a chance to check that one out yet, but I do want to play with that very soon. And then also, too, on the fighting game stick side, there's the Razer Kitsune, the small, compact leverless controller where it's just buttons instead of having a stick. I got a chance to play with a prototype at Summer Games Fest back in June, and I've been thinking about it ever since. I haven't been able to pick one up for myself yet, working on that, but apparently it has launched just as well as it felt back in June when I got to mess around with the test version. So PDP, back to what I was talking about. Sorry about the Razer cut off there, but PDP is making some very good third-party controllers. A lot of fun stuff going on here. The Sonic controller in particular for the Switch, the Real MZ with a little figurine inside. The kids love that one when we're playing games. I like it too. I think it feels pretty good. I wouldn't say it feels as good as the official Nintendo Pro controller, but it gets the job done for what you're trying to do. So if you're looking for a new controller and you're not trying to spend the first party rates, PDP has you covered at a more affordable price line, particularly on the Switch if you're looking for the wireless stuff, though the wired Xbox controllers aren't bad either. Next up, I want to talk about your lighting. So in your room, in your game room, if you're trying to create that ambiance I talked about earlier, I am a believer in Nanoleaf. Nanoleafs, they have different shapes that you stick to the wall. They're LED lights. You can program the colors that you prefer. I have the Eagles theme because, of course, I do. Go Birds once again. I have a Phillies theme that I refuse to use until April of next year for obvious reasons. And then there's all different, like, there's presets. There's people who upload their favorites and everything like that. In my room, I have the hexagons in front of me, the lines behind me, and I did have the black triangles on a wall to my left, but they have since fallen off. The adhesive they give you does not stick very well to wood paneling, I am learning. So I'll have to figure out another place for those. And I recently also picked up the 4D Nanoleaf lighting kit, which is a screen mirror and light strip kit. So you put the strips around the edges of your screen, and it reads what's going on the screen in your game, and it puts that color out, and so it goes a little further and makes things more immersive as you're playing games. This is a very cool... They're not the first company to do this. I have seen this before, and it has fascinated me. So to have it now on my screen while I'm playing games, I'll tell you what, scary games like Alan Wake 2 look way more intimidating with these extra lights, and then like Spider-Man 2 looks even that much more vibrant and stuff like that. It's a nice little addition to your gaming area if it's something you wanted to do. I do highly recommend it. Nanoleaf in general too, if you're looking for the shape lights or anything like that for your game room or for your kids' room, whatever, they do make a good product that I do endorse. There has been a couple of times where I've had to replace a power cord or a power the power button, like the piece that powers the whole thing when I'm not using my phone. I've had to do that a couple of times, but customer service it's been a known issue. I've never had to pay extra, and they have been very good in that regard, helping me out there. So I do want to say that Nanoleaf does a good job if you're looking for 3D lighting. They are a premium. You are going to pay a little more than you would for other brands, but it's worth it. I've had these hexagons now for almost, I think, 2 years I'm going on now, and the lines for just about that, 1.5 years, and they've been great. So I do recommend those for the gamer in your life who's looking to put a little more zazz in their game room. And then finally, along with the card games, I have gotten a little more into tabletop this year, and there are a couple of board games in particular that have hooked me. Whitehall Mystery, where one player plays as Jack the Ripper and the other 3 play as cops who are trying to capture them. Put Him to Justice is a fascinating game of cat and mouse where one player is basically moving invisibly and the three cop players have to figure out where he is based on searching for clues and stuff like that. Very, very cool game there. And the Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is another sort of horror, spooky board game where you're going into this house and it's different every time. There's like 50 different stories that could happen. Some are better than others, but every one of them is thrilling as you're playing them. There's now a couple of expansions. There's a Christmas-based expansion that is coming out soon or is already out now. I don't remember the release date off the top of my head, but it turns Santa Claus into this big creepy monster who's trying to get you because that's what the kids need. They need Santa Claus to be a monster. But this game is for adults. It's not for kids. It's not something I would play with my girls because it would scare the crap out of them. Very, very cool for your board game night. Both of those are ones that I would be into. And also Ravensburger, who I am focused on lately because of Disney Lorcana, the card game, which I would love to recommend to you on this gift guide, but their product is unfortunately so scarce right now. They did not expect the kind of popularity that they got, and they're still suffering for it. So hopefully they figure that out soon and people can start playing their great game. What I've played of it, I really enjoy. They just got to get more cards out there. They got to get those printers moving. And until they do that, they're going to be in the spot that they're in right now. But they also have like Disney puzzles. We have a 1,000 piece Disney puzzle from Ravensburger that we put together that's really nice, and a couple other games for children and adults alike. So all of those things are things I would recommend for your holiday shopping this year for the geek culture enthusiast on your list. The Gunner optics in particular, for those who are experiencing eye problems while staring at screens, they are awesome. They have helped me, and I would recommend that you check those out when you get the time. If you have any other gift ideas, feel free to tweet them at me, Big Man Finale. I might do another gift guide segment like this leading up to the holidays, and I would love to hear what you're looking forward to or what you're checking out coming up this year. After the break, I dip my toe into the Is 2023 the best year for video games ever discussion, and I don't know, the jury might still be out, and there's a couple of reasons why. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 139. Getting into a recent discussion that has taken over the gaming industry in light of what has been quite a year for it. And that is this the best year for video game releases of all time? And honestly, the jury, for me, is still out. And there's a couple of reasons why I say this. We're going to go through the list of games that have come out. We're going to compare them to two of what are considered to be the biggest years in gaming history's past, and we'll see where things rank as far as, popularity and, quality of games and things like that. So let's start with 2023. Let's consider the evidence here and the argument for the current year that we are in. Now, I am using OpenCritic to look at their highest ranked games from 2023 so far. Granted, I am recording this on November 3rd. There are a few games that have yet to come out between now and the end of the year. Super Mario RPG, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora come to mind. But as quality as they could be, I don't expect them to ascend to godhood as far as the year is concerned. But the games I'm going to mention here really round out the entire year, I think, pretty well. Baldur's Gate 3 and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom seem to be the 1-2 punch for Game of the Year this year. And then you have Street Fighter 6, Super Mario Wonder, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Sea of Stars was a great indie RPG. Indies in general actually had a strong year. Dave the Diver, Slay the Princess, and I could go on and on. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty was huge. Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush was one of the biggest surprises of the year. Diablo 4, Pikmin 4, Final Fantasy 16, a recent entry in the Talos Principle 2, and so on and so forth. There are more that I could get into, but those are really probably the biggest original games, and then there were plenty of remasters and remakes to speak of as well. Metroid Prime Remastered, believe it or not, was this year. It was only back in February. Resident Evil 4 remake was huge, plus the Separate Ways DLC. Those are both big time releases from this year as well. And then Dead Space was January. That was also this year too. I know, right? And then also Dead Cells, which is not a remake, it's an expansion, Return to Castlevania. That was huge back in March. Ghost Trick also impressed a lot of people, believe it or not. It's been a good year. It has been a very, very good year. There have been a lot of excellent, excellent titles from AAA to indie. Cassette Beasts and Cocoon were two games that I forgot that were on my radar. Very, very good stuff there. So the argument can be made that we have had at least one of the highest quality years in recent memory, and that's without getting into games that I am now realizing I never even talked about. Starfield came out this year. Humanity, Armored Core 6, Octopath Traveler 2, another recent entry in Star Ocean: The Second Story, Blasphemous 2, The Making of Karateka, or Karateka, whatever it is. Chris Kohler was on this show earlier this year. Jedi Survivor, Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat 1, Wargroove 2, the latest Forza game was very, very good. The list goes on and on. Viewfinder was a solid indie title. Football Manager 2024. According to OpenCritic, I have to scroll to page, still going, not quite there yet. Holy moly. Wowee, we're still going. Here we go. I have to scroll to page 8, and these have 20 entries per page. 147 releases this year, averaged an 80. That's pretty nuts, right? That's a signal of very high quality. Now, is that make it one of the best overall years for games? Sure, it definitely is up there, and it is also top heavy, as we talked about with like Baldur's Gate and Legend of Zelda and Resident Evil 4. But let's look at a couple of years that also had some really huge releases, particularly in certain sections of the year. 2007 is one that I go back to personally because I was working for a particular gaming-focused retailer, if you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. At the time, I had actually gotten a job with them in May of that year. So I was right in to the huge release launch period from like August until the end of the year. And in that time, and that just that time alone, we had Super Mario Galaxy, The Orange Box, BioShock, Call of Duty 4, Halo 3, Team Fortress 2, Rock Band was a big one that year, the original Mass Effect, Crisis was out in that time period, Half-Life 2 Episode 2 and the Orange Box specifically. So it came to consoles for the first time. That was a huge seller that year. The first Uncharted, Portal, and the list goes on. It was a huge year for releases, and they were all midnight releases, and I remember them fondly. Guitar Hero 2 for the 360 was big earlier in the year. God of War 2 came out earlier in the year. Elder Scrolls came to PS3, which got rave reviews. It was a very, very big year for games. One that I particularly remember fondly as one of the strongest in recent history. Is it as strong as this year? I would say yes. This list right here that I'm looking at right now has about 30 to 35 titles that ranked at least an 88 on Metacritic or an 87.5 on Game Rankings. That's pretty big, right? That's a lot of games that were at least there. Now, I know I said 148 games that went to 80, but if we cut that down to 88, we're only at 29 games this year. So there are a couple of more in 2007 that averaged higher, 88 or higher, that are on this list in front of me. And if we want to drop that down to 87 for 2023, there's 33 games that averaged 87 or higher in 2023. So it's comparable. I would say personally that maybe 2023 edges it out a little more based on overall different games, because this list does have the 2007 list that I'm looking at does have a couple of repeats, like the Orange Box is on here twice because different consoles, Modern Warfare is on here for different consoles, so on and so forth. But I might lean towards 2023 now over 2007, just because the different titles that came out, and not only are they all high quality, but they're also vastly different from one another. Alan Wake does not play like Baldur's Gate, does not play like Street Fighter, does not play like Pikmin, right? It's a fully varied, full scope of experiences. The 2007, while they had some great games, did not have as varied of choices, even though some of them were the best games I've ever played. Now, if we go back a little bit further, this is one that I think is going to be really hard to top, and that's 1998. If we go back to 1998, we are looking at games like the first Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil 2, StarCraft, Banjo-Kazooie, the first Baldur's Gate, Zelda Ocarina of Time, Crash Bandicoot 3, Xenogears, NFL Blitz, Turok 2 to a lesser extent, some of the best sports game ever made in the 99 series, NBA, NHL, Madden, FIFA, so on and so forth. F-Zero X was that year. 1080 snowboarding for the Nintendo 64 fans out there. Panzer Dragoon Saga for those who owned a Sega Saturn. Street Fighter Alpha 3 for the fighting game fans. The original Half-Life for the PC players. It was a huge year for games. I might, because of the influence that these games have, I may lean towards 1998, but 2023 definitely made a huge. You know what? I might actually go. It's funny how many titles are on both of these lists. Zelda is on both lists. Baldur's Gate is on both these lists. Street Fighter is on both these lists. Resident Evil is on both of these lists. Metal Gear Solid could have been, but that was more of a remake compilation in 2023, not a original full-on game, which is interesting. And so I might still, like, as far as overall quality of game, might lean towards 2023 over 1998. But you know, both 1998 and 2007 have major arguments for being the best year in gaming. So does 2023 win? Is this year the best year ever in video games? Maybe for releases, but no. 2023 is not the best year in video game industry history. And in order to make this point, I'm going to read you a list. Okay? Here we go. See if you can find the theme on this list. Bungie, Telltale, Twitch, Naughty Dog, Team 17, Creative Assembly, Epic Games, Mediatonic, Blizzard, Crystal Dynamics, Ascendant Studios, Visual Concepts, Gearbox, Romino, Eastside, BioWare, Blackbird, CD Projekt Red, Daedalic, Niantic, Wildseed, Scavenger Studios, The Game Band, Embracer Group, Inverse, Kabam, Deck 9, The Molasses Flood, Ubisoft, PlayOn, Unity, Waypoint, Ready at Dawn, Downpour, Take-Two, Gameloft, Servios, Nexon, EA, Hi-Rez, Riot, 343, Fandom/GameSpot, Giant Bomb, NetEase, VentureBeat, Rainbow Studios, The Coalition. I could go on. Have you figured out what this list is yet? This is a list of every game studio, and I missed a healthy amount. I skipped around. Every game studio where employees were laid off this year. And that, to me, is unacceptable. I understand that, you know, this is a weird time for multiple industries. The pandemic really threw things through a loop, particularly in what we do, because during the pandemic, people stayed home and played video games, so projections were through the roof, or the industry went through the roof in 2020 and 2021. And nobody apparently seemed to account for that when making projections and stuff like that, so they hired like crazy. And now literal thousands of people, 6,000 I think at last count, are out of jobs because people with an Excel sheet and a pen don't know how to do math or didn't math right, and instead of making changes at the top, they elected to make changes down below. And that sucks. I've seen good people, friends, basically pouring their souls into social media posts talking about how they lost jobs that they loved, jobs that in some cases people moved across the country for, and were only there for a year before getting the axe. This is the worst fears of many people in this industry laid bare for all to see, because people at the top, like I said, would rather sacrifice good people, whether it's community management, actual developers, I shouldn't say actual developers, you know what I'm saying, coders, programmers, things like that were expendable, but they couldn't be touched at the top. Their salaries couldn't be messed with. Their way of life didn't have to change. It's the classic Principal Skinner meme. Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong. But in this case, the children are good working people who have to be sacrificed because numbers don't add up the way that the people think they should. And that's bullcrap. It's absolute bullcrap. It's completely unnecessary. I don't care what anybody says. No one needed to be laid off this year. What had to happen was things had to happen at the executive level, less bonuses, cut salaries temporarily or what have you, to retain those people. The most egregious one is the most recent one, Bungie, who said that when they were bought by Sony, that Sony was their biggest focuses were retention and all this other things. No one's going to get fired. At a year and a half later, there we go, a bunch of layoffs. Everybody hit the road. Sorry, we don't care. It's awful, and it's unnecessary. And people will say, well, the executives shouldn't have to do that. Why do they have to? Because people like to kiss ass or whatever. But the reason that they have to do that is they're the ones that made the wrong projections in the first place. They're the ones that signed off on it. They were trying to reach unreachable goals based on a one-off situation in the pandemic. They should have known that those things weren't going to be possible, and they should have planned ahead. But no. The investors only want to see infinite growth. They only want to see the chart going up and up and up. They don't care what's going on. They just want to see that their return on their investment is what it should be, if not more. And that is bullcrap. My only wish for this industry in 2024, I don't ask for much despite having played games for 33 years. I'm not the kind of guy who's like, comic book guy. As a fan, I think they owe me. I know I'm not entitled to anything, but every once in a while I like to make a request of my gaming industry, the one that I've written about for 15 years and followed for many more than that. In 2024, I don't want to write an article about layoffs anymore. Now, I know that's a lofty goal and probably impossible because some C-suite idiot is already salivating at the idea of ruining people's lives. But I don't want to write an article about layoffs anymore. I want to write an article about an executive who took it upon himself to cut his own benefits or salary or what have you in order to retain the people that made his or her game great. That's what I want. Before anybody says to me, well, that's impossible, it's never going to happen, that doesn't work, it's never happened in the history of video games, you're wrong. It has happened. And unfortunately, the beacon of hope that did this, one that could give us the information on how they made that work and what have you, is no longer with us. And that man's name is Satoru Iwata. Back in, let me look up the article here before anybody tries to tell me that I don't have the exact facts. Back in 2000 and, where's the date? 14. Nintendo experienced a dive in profits following disappointing sales of Wii U. The net income, I'm reading an article from the BBC at the time, net income fell 4 billion yen from 14.55 billion in 2013 to 10.2 billion in 2014, from April to December. 2012 to 2013 to 20, you know what I'm saying? So this is January 2014. What did they do? Did they lay people off? Did they cut the workforce? Did they take away benefits? Did they anything like that? No. Mr. Iwata elected to cut his pay in half for at least 5 months and potentially more. I believe he ended up doing more. Miyamoto took a pay cut. A lot of executives took a pay cut. They were temporary, but they made up for the loss, and they were able to recover from that. They made it work in order to keep their people. And that's why Nintendo has one of the highest retention rates in the industry, somewhere in the ballpark, I understand, of 98% retention rate. Because when things like this happen at that company, the executives do what they have to do to keep people working, but also keep the company going. They knew what had to be done. But 10 years later, that's not how it works anymore. Now, when things aren't going the way they should be, and in an industry which experienced an unprecedented boom thanks to people being stuck inside the house with nothing to do but play their games, has anyone else taken this step? Has anyone else stepped up and said, you know what? We'll take a bit of a cut for a little while. We can certainly afford it. Let's keep these people working, and because the quality of the game that we make may suffer in the long run. Nope. 6,000 people across different facets of the industry, development, community management, journalism, all of it gone in an instant. Because some guy thought they were just numbers on a page that could be deleted at their whim. And don't think it's just new people either. Don't think it's people that have only been, writing about, or that only been working in games for a couple of years. One of the layoffs at Bungie, the most egregious one, the one that's been used as an example of just pure, cold greed at the center of these cuts, is a guy named Michael Salvatore. Now, for Halo fans, that should ring a bell. Destiny fans, it definitely does. That man wrote the music for both of those games, Halo and Bungie. The iconic songs that you have listened to for over 20 years, that man was responsible for, along with O'Donnell. Michael Salvatore was a driving musical force at Bungie. Gone. Without a second thought. Boggles the mind that they would just let him go. There was another name whose name I don't remember. Rebecca or Becky something, who was a developer for 20 years, also cut. One of their best developers. Gone. Numbers on a page. That's all these people are. And it's crap. It's absolute crap. And I would hope that with a major platform coming up a month from now, a certain Jeff Keighley, who has spoken out against companies in the past, let's not forget when he stuck up for his boy Hideo Kojima against Konami on his own stage at the Game Awards that year. Let's hope he would make a comment this year again. But based on the tweets he's put out, based on things that he has said, I don't know that that's going to happen. I respect Jeff and what he does for this industry, but sometimes he does not use the platform the way that he should, and I hope in this case that he does, because it needs it. It needs to be said, it needs to be put out there, that dirty laundry needs to be aired, so the people who make the decisions don't think they can continue to get away with this forever. Because eventually, the quality of the games will come down, and the industry will I wouldn't call it a bubble. I don't think the industry is ever going to hit a bubble, but there is going to be a downturn if the games aren't good. Now, they were able to do this in a year with a record number of quality games, as we've talked about, 147 games averaging over 80 or over on OpenCritic. Fine. But that's not going to happen every year. Does the 2024 slate look as impressive as 2023? No. So when sales are down and things are down, what are they going to do? They're going to lay off more? Or are they going to take responsibility and start at the top, as they should have? I'm not asking for everybody to get fired, but, maybe you don't have to buy that third yacht. Maybe two will do, yeah? Let's be a little more humane about this in the future, because Lord knows the world is not humane at all at the moment. And any opportunity we can take to be that way, I would very much appreciate. So, on that note, this is episode number 139 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented as always by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM. We are not a classic rock station. 1480 AM, iHeartRadio, streaming platforms, wherever you get your podcasts is where you can listen to the show. If you're listening to these words right now, as I say at the end of every episode, that means you are at the end of this episode, and I appreciate you for getting here. Very much love that you are taking the time to listen to me. Hope you were educated, hope you were entertained, and I hope that you come back for more episodes in the future. I'm in a good groove now between last week and this week. I think we can keep that going for the foreseeable future. Let's hope. Big thank you to Jeff Montegut from Extra Life from Children's Miracle Network's directing Extra Life, coming on talking about game days. Go and support your whatever streamers are supporting the Children's Miracle Network hospital near you. Go and donate to them. CMN does great work for the kids, both terminally ill and the emergency room kids who bump their head and need some stitches. They do great work across the board, as Jeff was saying, and this is a great way to give them extra funds to be able to help the kids in the future. So I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have an even better week right behind it. And we will be back with more of the latest and greatest in video games right here on Cheesesteaks and Controllers. Goodbye, everybody.